first about something that no one is talking about.
Okay.
I feel like no one's talking about it as much as
Which
they
is what?
should. And that is how much social media affects your mental health. Like people are starting to
So
talk about
true.
it, but like I want to talk about it a little bit more. And then I want to talk about different tips and tricks for
Anxiety.
or any type of mental health, honestly. So I'm first going to start with this stupid thing. It blows my mind that no one is talking about how much your brain is affected by what you see on social media. And I'll give you a personal example. When I was in college, my sophomore year, my eating disorder got really bad. Like I am almost 5'8" and I was down to like 110 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Like not good.
I'm 5'3" and I'm not even close.
So it was bad. Like my family was worried about me. My roommates were worried about me. It was not good. It was not healthy. And I started realizing that the only people I was surrounding myself with and the only things I was looking at were all these perfect, beautiful bodybuilders who do that for a living. Like if you went through my Instagram account, which I spent way too much time on Instagram, if you went through my Instagram account, it was all of these beautiful, beautiful, perfect fitness people. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me just throw that out there. There are some of them that I still follow and I absolutely love, but that was the only thing I was seeing. So it's constant comparison game. Even if I want to sit here and tell myself I'm not going to compare, I'm comparing. Like, let's be honest. And so I'm seeing this over and over and over again. The minute I wake up, the moment I go to bed, and it is stuck in my brain. And honestly, at the end of my sophomore year, no, beginning of junior year, I was like, I need to do what I call a content cleanup now. I talk to students about this all the time, where on a pretty regular basis, I go through all the people on my Instagram that I'm following. And if they don't make me feel good about myself, see you later.
Swipe
like,
left.
why are you following them? Why would I follow these people who make me feel like I am not worthy, that I am not good enough, that I like, what? And so
that's like Maria Kondo method. Like you should totally do that in all aspects of your life. When someone,
absolutely,
even in real life, not making you feel good.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a little bit easier to click the unfollow button than to just like stop talking to someone, but I do agree with you.
Called the fade out method.
AKA ghosting. Yeah. Okay, look out everyone. Tina might ghost.
No, ghosting is a little bit more like,
is that suddenly aggressive? I feel like that's aggressive.
Ghosting is kind of aggressively like bye, right? Versus the fade out method is more of like you talk to them not every day. You talk to them 3 days a week, 2 days a week, and then you text them every now and then it's longer and you're busy.
Or, which I like.
Don't lie, people. You know you've done the fade out method or the ghosting method. Okay.
Oh, yeah, people have for sure. But I think a more healthy thing to start doing, which is way more difficult, but I think it's better, is I mean, I've had to have this conversation with one of my friends before when she was, everything was negative. And like my energy was here before I saw her, and then I saw her and it was like down here. And having an honest conversation about that and just saying, hey, I love you and I'm here for you. And I want to know if there's something that I can do to help. But my goal for myself is to remain positive and have high energy. And when we're together, I can't achieve that goal. And I want to be here to support you. But at the same time, I need to surround myself with people who are helping me get to that level. So like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a conversation about that, because you never know. Maybe that friend is suffering from something and needs some extra help.
Yeah.
Does that conversation suck? Yeah. But is it worth it? I think so.
You know what? And then kudos to you for like being able to have those hard conversations as young as you are, because I feel like I am just now coming into that. Like I did the Susie Batiste course and it really talked about having those conversations in a nice way. And she called it like a positive thought cleanse. So like, let's say you're talking trash about someone else, you're saying, hey, I'm on a positive thought cleanse, like kind of poke some fun at it. But then having it really mature, nice way like that. Or I had a friend going through a breakup, but she didn't tell me all the details of it. And then, but I had noticed like every time we hung out together, it was like, rare. I was like, hey, you're like a little bit different than normal. And I'm just curious if you're going through something, because I feel like normally you're like super into, what we're doing. And she then kind of like told me like she's going through a breakup. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I was getting like the brunt of it. So
yeah, because then you
it's
start
different.
taking things personally, for sure.
Yeah. And then
So,
you're like, bitch, but really she's not, it's not normal behavior. Yeah.
right. Absolutely. So I think coming full circle with that, starting with your social media platforms and doing, like I said, what I call content cleanup. Like after you watch this video, go look. And if I happen to be one of those people that makes you feel like that, that's fine. Unfollow me then. Like I have respect for you for being aware of what makes you feel good and what doesn't make you feel good. Also,
100%.
I would challenge people. Some people watching this might be rolling their eyes thinking, oh, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. BS. Go to your app settings and look at how much time you spend on each app.
So true. I get the
It's
little
scary.
reminder like, ding, you spent 4 hours this week. And I'm like, damn it.
I know. Okay, well, 4 hours isn't that bad. Some people are doing 4 hours a day.
Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't count YouTube, okay? Oh, does it? Maybe it does.
I don't know. We're gonna have to go look. Now I have to look. I have a setting set up on my Instagram to kick me off if I've spent too much time on it. Yeah, you can set those
That's
up.
so good. I didn't know that. But I don't have TV, so I kind of like watch YouTube. I don't know. Does that count?
How much time are you on YouTube? It depends.
Sometimes I just put it on, like, I watch Joel Osteen every morning. I'll watch like a motivational thing from like Tony Robbins.
Okay, that's like healthy YouTube though.
but then like I'm trying to get into like, it's almost like me constantly starting over with my fitness routine. And you've heard this from me like a number of times. Like every 2 weeks I'm like, I need to start over. So I've been watching, like, sadly, and I feel bad because it's countering what you're talking about, is I've been watching like Victoria's Secret, Runway. I'm like, yeah, get it. And like I'll start lifting out. Like
but no, I don't think that doesn't counter what I'm saying, because that makes you feel motivated. That doesn't make you feel icky. If you're not comparing and that doesn't make you feel icky, then run with it, girl.
Yeah.
But like for me, if I saw that, I would be like, oh my gosh, I will never do that. So it depends on you personally.
Okay, that's a good point. That's why I was like, ooh, I feel bad for saying that. But
oh, no, don't at all. Because look at these fitness people. I mean, they have millions and millions of followers, because some people, I might not like one of them because she makes me feel icky because she's got this big old great booty and I just can't achieve that. And it makes me mad. So I unfollowed her. But other people, like, that's their motivation, and that's totally fine. And that's why you have to do it yourself, to go through and be like, does this person make me feel good, or do they make me feel like I'm not good enough?
Yeah. So true.
So that's one tip that I always have for people who just seem to be a little off in terms of where they're at with their mental health. I just think that's
sometimes it's even your body, or even if you question it, I think that's kind of like, ding, you shouldn't follow.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So what are some other tips and tricks if you
on social media front?
No, on anxiety, depression, mental health, bipolar, whatever.
Yeah, so I would say, like, for me, mine are probably get driven more toward ADD or like ADHD.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah, so for me, that's more of that. And I used to take medication in college, and it was one of those things I'm like, oh, no wonder everybody's always said, like, Gina, you're all over the place, or like, why do you always forget, or da-da-da-da, right? And I used to blame it on my mom because she gave me this, like, thinking ginkgo book. It's like a natural herb when I was a kid, And I was like, that's why, because I do think, like, when you're giving your body something that it naturally makes, like, then your body doesn't make it anymore. So then, it's probably my overthinking of everything, right? So when I was in college, and I'm one of those people who say yes to a lot of things. So I have now learned to, like, just schedule things out. Like, I'm very routine, but routine in the most flexible way. Like, daily I'll work out, but who knows when it's going to be.
Okay, yeah. I like
so
that.
Like, I'm kind of like in the middle, because I also don't like being trapped to, like, certain hard parameters. But yeah, I'm going to work out like 3 days a week, 4 days a week, right? Who knows what those days are. Same thing with, like, my work schedule. I work best with my energy level. So, like, I'm not going to be doing like computer work in the evening or the afternoon, because that's when I kind of have lower energy and I'm not motivated. So then I blame it on my ADD, right? No, in the morning, I'm like a
Yeah.
spitfire. I'm a spitfire in the morning. So I'll do all my computer work in the morning. I'm motivated to do it in the morning. I clean in the morning, and I hate cleaning.
She does hate cleaning.
I hate cleaning. So if you see me cleaning, I'm avoiding something. Or it's just, I do know when my space is clean, it makes my mind clean. I do have kind of this theory that your mind is a reflection of your reality.
I
Like
want
what's
to talk
going.
about that when you finish.
Yeah. So I'm sure I just went all over the place, hence my ADD. But I really did have long-term side effects from, I think, taking the medication. I took it straight like for, I would say like 2 years, maybe like a year and a half. And it was almost like a, it's technically a drug, okay? But it was like I couldn't perform my day unless I took it. In the beginning, I was like, this is really cool. It's really nice, right? And then you get to a point where like it's not as effective, and then you want to up your dose, and you want to keep upping your dose. And then it gets kind of a little bit scary where you like don't want to get up unless you take it, right? And then
you become dependent on it.
Yeah, it's like over releasing all the serotonin, so that when you're off, it's like horrible. You like want to sleep for like 15 hours. You kind of go in a depressed state. And so I would be really aware and like try not to take it on the weekend, but it was every week was like that. I was like, and then I started to like reflect and become honestly like super depressed, and I gained all this weight, because in the beginning you lose a lot of weight because you're like, oh, I'm not hungry, right? But actually I really think it like messes up your metabolism, because it's training you to that you're not going to get food, so then it's holding on to your weight. And I had gained the most weight in my life, and at 5'3", like it's not heavy compared to anybody else, but like I'm Asian, and it's like it was a lot of like family, like Asian pressure, family pressure, like, and I'm short, so like 1 pound on me is like 10 pounds on someone 5'8", so I gained all that weight, and then I had just like, it was a counter effect. Does that make sense? So then I was like, what's the only thing that I have done differently? I'm superly naturally happy person, so I had stopped taking it. I was like, hardcore, I'm gonna stop taking it. It was really hard for anywhere from 6 months to like maybe a year to kind of get back to feeling like myself, and I'm lucky now that I really take it super rarely. I take a micro dose. If I feel like, okay, it's tax time. Girl, that's not my favorite thing, okay? And I work in finances. So I might do it like that. But other than that, I've just really tried to control my ADD with scheduling things, reminders, accountability partners is huge. Stuff like that. Deadlines. That's kind of how I operate. Sorry, long-winded answer.
No. That was good though, because I think it was good, but also sad, because medication for me has been almost the exact opposite of that. And that's why I think there's so many different viewpoints on medication, and why there's so many people that are so against it, and so many.
And there's different medications too. So I was on a couple different ones, and so maybe it was one of them that kind of like affected me more negatively.
Well, if they're mixing together, because that's what I think people don't necessarily understand when it comes to medication. There's 2 points that I want to bring up here. Is that one, you cannot be entirely dependent on medication, period. And that's what was happening to you. And that's why the withdrawal and the after was so challenging, because you were entirely dependent on it. That is not what medication is for. Like, for people who are, thinking about it, you have to be doing the other things that you've talked about, with being scheduled, with being disciplined, with having accountability partners. Like, those are more important. Like, you have to have that in place. The other thing that I think sometimes people forget when it comes to medication and mental health is that we're literally talking about chemicals in your brain.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about like, if my leg hurts a little bit, or like if, like, I don't even know what to compare it to. Like, we're straight up talking about chemicals in your brain, y'all. Like, that's not something to take lightly. And so you do have to be really careful with medication, but you also need to recognize that medication is a good way to help those chemicals come back into balance, but you just can't abuse it.
Yes. And I was seeing a lot of that too. Like people would ask me, I'm like, like I really need it, and you're doing it for fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like people, and I didn't.
Oh, the Adderall?
Yeah. And I didn't tell people, anymore, because I just didn't like that. I didn't like when people abused it for weight loss reasons, or to drink more, or to, focus, because technically I thought it was abusing it. And then I had like a kind of a negative connotation that I was taking it too. But I also see, like, when I do financial planning and I'm doing people's insurance, right? It's like they're masking a problem with another problem. So I see someone on Adderall and then they're taking Lunesta. Well, when you're taking an Adderall,
Oh
it
no.
gets
Oh
you
no.
hyped for a long time, right? And then they were taking Lunesta, and then they were taking Butrin, Butrin was for depression, right? So it's like, I'm telling you, it's like that whole cycle. So if you have self-awareness, I think is kind of like the overlying theme of today's conversation, is just like, if you're self-aware and how your body reacts to certain things and how you can counter it naturally yourself, that's going to be the best balance of all those things together.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that should be number one, is how can I be more aware of what's going on in my head, in my body? And then what are my resources that I have, either myself or my support system,
and how it's affecting other people, or how are other people affecting me while I'm on it, or how I'm affecting other people. Because I was kind of a little snippy, like, I was a little short.
I can be a big old bee sometimes.
Yeah, but it was like, me when I was on the medication. It was maybe too much of a dose, because lack of sleep, and then I was becoming real short and snippy, like, real impatient, like, you don't know, and so then self-awareness, I would have to take it really, really early, so that it wore off by X time, so that I could actually sleep.
So we're talking about the importance of understanding different things that you can do before maybe having the medication conversation. So let's talk more about quickly some of those things.
Like, what can you do prior to it?
Yeah.
I really think journaling will kind of help. Like, what's your routine? Staying in routine, that would help. I mean, I don't know if it's the same things for someone do you love the book I gave you?
Yeah. So Tina got me this book, and it has helped me with journaling.
It's by Gay Hendricks. He is my mentor's mentor. So Susie Batiste and her mentor. It's amazing.
Gives you prompts, because otherwise I'm like looking at a blank sheet of paper and I'm like, I don't know what the hell to write.
And so perfect for ADD. One day read paragraph.
Yeah, it's not long either. It's not long. So speaking of reading, I want to talk about that. Reading has been huge for me with anxiety. I think reading, or even,
I feel like faith.
What was that?
I feel like faith helps a lot.
Yeah, but let me continue with reading for a second.
Yeah.
And explain why, because faith is another really good one too.
Yeah.
You get out of your life and you go into someone else's when you read or you watch a show. And so I would prefer reading over a show. If people do decide to watch a show to help with anxiety, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, as long as you're not binging. But there is something healthy and energizing about getting out of your own narrow-minded issues and getting into someone else's life for a little bit. And
so when you say reading, are you saying more of fiction books?
I mean, I think it can be anything. This kind of comes like personal preference, but I personally like fiction for when I'm having anxiety, and then I do my professional development when I'm more on like, let's go, I'm feeling good and I'm like ready to do it. Cause like when I'm not feeling so hot and I have anxiety, because most of the time my anxiety is caused from work. So when I'm having a lot of anxiety, I don't really want to be focused on how to work more. I'm just like, screw it. I got to read about
what's your favorite? Like Harry Potter, or like?
I've never read Harry Potter. I've never seen the movies. That is not my jam. I actually do this thing called Book of the Month, where I think it's like $14.99 a month, and you get to pick one or two different books each month, and they send them to you, and they're fantastic. They're amazing.
And it's a paper copy.
Yeah.
Because you like the more like feeling, seeing, breathing. Yeah.
For sure. So I think doing kind of escaping and going into someone else's world for a little bit is something important. Here is one thing that I am starting to learn with anxiety and mental health is that isolation is a jail. So as much as we want to isolate ourselves, and as much as we want to say, I need to figure this out on my own when we are struggling mentally, you are literally putting yourself into a jail. I have read that, and that's really hard for me. It's even hard for me to say that out loud because I've definitely done that. But you cannot battle mental health alone, period.
Yeah.
And so finding that support system, or even, finding virtual therapists right now are so inexpensive, and there's so many churches that have therapy for no cost. Like, it's hard for me, like I said, because I used to do that. But like, the more podcasts that I listen to on mental health and the more books that I read on it and the more that I talk to others, isolation will bring you 10 steps back.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I feel like when I'm like it's not any comparison to your anxiety by any means. Sometimes when I feel like when I'm not in the greatest place, I like don't want to put that energy in someone else's life, right? But sometimes like I'll have a friend being like, "Girl, you just need to talk." So she'll, like yesterday, I was in a sour mood, and I was texting her, like she's like, "You sounds like you need a trip to Miami." Like she got on the phone with me, kind of like let me spill my guts for a little bit and a little self-reflection, and she was like, sounds like you just need to go to Miami, and like I'm so glad you shared. And what's funny is like after I like it was so like I was like, I'm so glad you called. Like,
weird
so
how that works.
It was almost like her energy was like coming through the phone at me, And I was just so thankful that she gave me a call instead of being like, "Oh yeah, just let me know if you feel better." Like it was just, and I don't even talk like she's not even she's become a quick friend, like we just have bonded.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was really like super sweet.
So talking it out and writing it out are other tips that I have. One of my best guy friends here in Dallas, he was like, he was going through something and he was like, "I need to talk to you about it." And I was like, "But we don't talk like randomly throughout the day,
Yeah.
And so he was like, I was like, "Why don't you just write it down? And then that way, when I see you later, you can go over it with me." And the first thing he said to me when I saw him, he was like, "Oh my gosh. Like, I wrote down so much, and like there's so much that I have to go over, and like I feel better just from doing that." And it's like writing it down, talking it out. I know we don't have a lot of time left, but exercise, move your body. I don't give a shit if you're running. I don't give a shit if you're strength training. I don't care. Go on a walk outside, do a crunch, move your body.
Yeah,
Sunshine.
For sure.
That's another quick tip. I'm just like gonna rapid
music,
fire some quick tips.
Dancing, like anything that makes you feel good.
I was gonna say music is another really good one.
Yeah. Literally when Black and Yellow pops on, I'm like, "Oh yeah." Black and Yellow, Black and Yellow.
Well, now there's a green. You know the green and yellow version, right? For the Packers?
No, I didn't know that.
What?
Is there a version?
I'll send that to you.
Okay, that's awesome. It just reminds me of that time, like, or if this shit is bananas, reminds me of college. I'm like, "Oh yeah, club scene."
That's a good one. That is good. That's good.
That's funny.
So exercise, writing it down, reading a book, talking about it, cleaning up your social media content. Couple other things. For me personally, you have to go?
No, I said phoning a friend.
Oh, okay. Phoning a friend. That's a good one. So I know you don't like cleaning, but for me personally, cleaning is actually an anxiety reliever because it's instant gratification.
I feel like, now that I'm older and then I have this nicer house, because you knew me when I had my like not so great place. Now it's like, it's honestly, it's like, oh, I love, and on my marble black house, I love when my kitchen's clean because you're right. It's like, boom, bed is folded and I just feel like such zen. You're right. It is instant gratification because you're like, check.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not making your bed every morning, we need to have a conversation.
Isn't that a book? Isn't that in a book?
It's probably in a book, but my favorite line that I heard it from was from the Navy SEAL who did the commencement speech.
It's I have that book on Audible. His name, and he lives in Tennessee.
So I do this presentation with students going over mental health. So I'm pulling up a couple of other quick tips that I put in here. Boundaries.
Well, that's
a new one for me this year.
That's actually what I'm working on too.
Oh, good. Yeah, boundaries is another big one.
David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. David Goggins, that guy? That Navy SEAL?
I don't know.
Maybe there's more than one.
I have to look it up. Routines. We just posted about that, how having routines actually ends up giving you more freedom. If you are someone who battles with anxiety, has type A personality, the more you have routines, the more you honestly do have freedom. I think that's so true. Okay, here's a fun one.
What?
I had a girlfriend ask me, she was like, Anna, what hobbies do you have? And I'm like,
Working out.
I don't have any hobbies. I don't have any hobbies. And I talked to college students about this, and we're all like, I don't have any hobbies. Like, our parents had hobbies. We don't have any hobbies. Like,
you don't have any hobbies?
Work. Like, that's not a hobby.
That's
You
so
know what I'm
weird.
saying?
I have a hobby, but I guess I'm older.
What's your hobby?
I always I feel like working out. But I do like different workouts, like acro yoga, Lyra hula. Like, those are my hobbies.
No, I agree. And I do think that's a hobby. But sometimes when I think of hobbies, sometimes I'm like, gardening or like crafting.
Golfing?
Yeah, like I don't do any of that. So I think being able to give yourself an outlet where you can get gratification from it and be successful in it is something that our generation is lacking because all we do is everything technology.
Yeah.
So that's another one. Volunteering is my freaking favorite. That's on my list this year. Once a quarter, I want to give back, whether it's a chunk. I would prefer not to do a chunk of money just because
you can come with us.
I don't get that much out of it. I would rather give my time because I think
we always do like a packing food or like a something.
Yeah, so I want to try to do that a couple times throughout the year. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
And then I think the last thing that I want, one of my final tips. Oh my gosh, I have so many more. I mean, right now, like I am in a study club focusing on this stuff. I mean, there's so many different things, but I'll shut up about it. Tina's like, oh my God.
I feel like, could your hobby be like constantly learning? Because I feel like I'm constantly learning.
Would that be my hobby?
I'm constantly like, I'm constantly always trying to like learn something new. Like, ooh, a new recipe. Ooh, I want to learn how to play golf. I want to learn how to play poker.
That's a hobby. Yeah, that's true. Maybe we can say that's our hobby.
But those are also like, to me, efficient hobbies. Like, no offense to crafting, I'm just not as creative, right? So it's almost like, to me, that's a hobby that could turn into a business. But to me, like golfing could be like something I can also do in an old age and bond with my dad and like network, know, versus like cooking is like, it's also a life skill. I'm going to have kids one day. Like, to me, it's like being the whole super efficient in me.
Yeah, but that's because you're
two things at once. I know, like I want it to have a purpose, like.
Well, yeah, because that's what you are.
I did also like last year I wanted to learn how to play poker. I bought a poker board, which I can show you right now. I got a poker board. I got the card. I like fully committed, and then I went to poker night like every Tuesday, and it still was like.
I hate poker. I played it. I know how to play. I can't freaking stand it because I never know what anyone has, and I never know when people are actually lying, and it drives me nuts.
And I also kind of feel like it's like
dug into a hole of poker.
To me, that's like awesome that you as a girl know how to play poker. To me, it's like being like, I know how to drive a stick shift, and I do. It's like that cool factor. It's like that cool chick factor. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm learning how to snowboard now too. So,
which you can totally have my snowboard.
Oh, we're gonna have to talk offline about this. Okay, wait.
Let me have it, and I have a helmet and everything you need.
Oh shit, we do really need to talk then.
Seriously.
Okay. Final thing that I want to say is that anyone who is battling with different mental health things also needs to take a step back, pull out a sheet of paper, and write down everything that you've accomplished in the last year.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are doing much better than they think they are. Like, I remember I had a university reach out to me and they asked me for a bio. And I was like, ugh. So I wrote up a bio and I was like, oh, I'm actually doing pretty good. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm not this like 24-year-old who just sucks and is just coasting. Like, I'm doing okay.
You're doing great.
So sometimes I think that people need to recognize, like pause and recognize how far that they've come and be proud of themselves for that rather than always trying to be 20 steps forward and being like, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Enjoy where you're at right now. Appreciate where, how far you've come and just do one day at a time.
And be present.
I feel like we jumped all over the place in this episode.
It's my fault.
No. I mean, mine too. But I feel like I hope a lot of people can relate to this, and I would love to hear other people's tips and tricks, because that's where I learned all my stuff was from other people. And then leading up to this post, people will get other different helpful stuff. So I think this is a good real talk. This is our
it
first
was
real
a good real
talk.
talk.
So
And then maybe we'll have a therapist or someone on this year.
I love it. All right.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. I'm Tina Hoang.
I'm Anna Ostrowski. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.